if you do a countdown, that means I'm going to have to find something funny that I need to say when you end the countdown, just to make you seem like, you know, just to make it seem like this isn't, as professional as we actually make it.
Just to make me
So,
seem incompetent, Dan. I get it. I get it. We're recording, by the way.
oh, are we? That's nice. I guess I'll start the intro then. Welcome to episode 6 of Video Games and Chill, the podcast for the internet. Elite. Yeah. Those of you that are watching the video may notice that I am in a different. It's the same place. It's just I'm not using that machine. I'm using this machine.
It's the same place, but like flipped round.
Yes, I am 90 degrees of what I was.
It's an interesting new perspective on your life, Dan.
It is, yeah. You can see a lot more of my personality here rather than just a bookcase that needs organising.
I can see a
For
nice
example,
door on your right.
There's a penguin. There's a Richard thing that Richard got me. There's
Oh
a
yeah, the
seagull,
scroll.
and there's a mouse right here. So yeah, welcome to episode 6 of Video Games and Chill, a podcast where we talk about video games we've been playing, we discuss the news, and then we dive deep on some moral bullshit that might or might not be happening in the industry at the moment.
I mean, we break new ground every week, Dan, but this week is particularly poignant, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we are going to change the world for our one viewer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this week we discuss what we've been playing, amongst other things. And our discussion topic is, we haven't quite figured out the wording of it, but it surrounds predatory behavior from companies regarding, consumer friendliness and just altogether, why are you being a dick, bro?
There's a lot of shady stuff going on. Some of it is literally just anti-consumer. Some of it is actually fairly like,
yeah, it's
corrupt or.
If you've been paying any attention to the video gaming news over the last couple of weeks, you'll probably know what we're talking about. And if you haven't, then, well, give it another couple of hours and you'll probably know what we were talking about. So, Sam, how you been?
I've been all right, a bit of a sort of chilled out week, if you know what I mean. Bit of a the gyms are back open, which I'm very happy with. So now I can go to the gym and have a pint on my way back to sort of nullify any progress I made in the gym.
I mean, to be fair, based on the picture you sent me the other day, you probably needed to replenish fluids.
Oh yes.
Yes. I need to hydrate. What shall I do? I know, tequila slammers.
that was the sweatiest I've ever been.
Yeah, and now I just want tequila.
I never want tequila.
Or a nice whiskey.
Mm. Give me whiskey over tequila any day. I cannot stand tequila. I feel like there are two types of people in this world. You either love tequila and hate Sambuca, or you love Sambuca and hate tequila. Or a third option.
Apart from that, I love both. Also, I imagine you've probably only ever had bad tequila before. Bad tequila is bad.
Yeah,
good tequila.
Maybe.
Good tequila is good.
I was at a party the other week. Check me out, being invited to parties, and I had one shot.
Socially distancing, of course.
Absolutely, in my bubble.
In your bubble.
And we had one shot the entire night. It wasn't like a big old party. It was like just a few of us having a drink. But we had one shot the entire night. And that was the tipping point. You know where you sort of know. You think, shit, this is going to end badly. And so I just ran to the sink and downed 2 pints of water. And I was fine and I didn't have a hangover the next day.
Yeah, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Yeah. No, I've not done any parties, and thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm great, thanks. Had a good couple of weeks at work, so I'm,
Top
on
of
a
the world.
little bit of a I'm being incredibly productive at work buzz, um, which is good. Good.
Always nice.
Yeah. So, like we said, our discussion topic for later on, and we'll probably jump in and out of it as the podcast goes on because quite a lot of it is linked to some of the stuff in the news. Is about you know companies needing to be more consumer friendly and what we should be doing if they're not consumer friendly, as they so often are. But first up, Sam, what have you been playing this week?
Well, Dan, I believe that you're going first this week, so I'll bounce the question back at you. What have you been playing?
Yeah, that's a very good point, and we probably should have planned that better. Uh, Welcome to the chaos that is video games and chill. This week I've been playing. So last time we were talking about Microsoft and their Xbox conference, and at the time we were discussing the Xbox Game Pass, and pretty much from that point I subscribed because it's like, oh, okay, so it starts off as £1 a month for the first month, and then it's £3.99 a month for the rest of it. Kind of a, you know,
It's a cracking
it's
deal.
a no brainer, really. And the first thing I did was downloaded a game which I have been considering buying for full price, and am now pretty glad that I didn't. Forza Horizon 4. Um,
So I've never played
it,
any of the Forzas. Is Horizon the one that's open world?
Horizon is the open world, more arcadey version rather than the track based racing sim version.
Motorsport.
Yeah, it's good. It's good fun. It's interesting. I enjoy the driving. I enjoy a lot of the gameplay. There's you earn points to qualify for events, but then there's some weird thing where if you qualify for the next event before you've been able to participate in the current event that you're qualified for, it just sort of skips to the next event, and it's really weird. Also, there's the driving is, it's Forza. The driving is pretty much spot on. There's an awful lot of what I would assume would be loot boxes if I was willing to pay for those. And then the big problem I had is I was halfway through driving somewhere, and all of a sudden I hit some, I don't know, I hit some thing, some behind the
Mm-hmm.
scenes sort of switch flicked, and then all of a sudden I was thrust into a 2.5 minute, 3 minute uh, advertisement for the DLC that I couldn't skip. I couldn't skip, and I couldn't exit out of. And I don't know, that was the point where I sort of gave up for the time being, and I don't know if that's going to continue happening.
Was
But
it
it's just
was it a literal just an advertisement?
it was literally just an advertisement. It stopped me in the middle of you know where I was going, and then when I'd returned, I'd driven into the side of a house or something. I can't remember. So it hadn't even stopped me in game. It had just, hey, did you know there's all this DLC that we've got? And it's like, yes, I'm aware, but I'm playing through Game Pass, and I'm probably not going to get the DLC because
I
you've
was
just dropped a 3 minute advert in front of me for the DLC that I can't skip in a game which allegedly I should have paid 60 quid for.
I was gonna say, what are your opinions on Game Pass doing that sort of thing? First of all, there's two
This isn't
questions.
a Game Pass thing. This is a Forza thing.
Well, there's two questions here. The first is, what do you think? So Game Pass is like you have all of these complete experiences. You have all of this, that, and the other. What do you think of them not giving you the DLC with Game Pass?
Fine. I mean, why would they? That's where they need to be making money somehow. So the DLC, if you just gave everybody all of the DLC, then they'd be making a loss. I could understand why they don't give you the DLC, and if the base game, they're basing it on the fact that if the base game is good enough, then people will be willing to buy the DLC, which I probably would have done because some specifically the Lego DLC. I mean, that's right up my street. Okay, yeah, I'm going to drive around England in a Lego car. Yes, thank you very much. Screw you, Alfa Romeo R8. No, not R8. It's the other one, 8C. Uh, you can go and sit in my garage. I'm driving around in a
I,
Lego fire truck.
I mean, that's the dream every English kid had. You know,
Exactly.
when they went and got the Lego driving license at Legoland.
Yeah, and so I understand them not doing the DLC, and it also means that they can do all these microtransactions and all that rubbish.
Mm.
What I don't agree with is the fact that they did just drop this on me. And as far as I can tell, I did a little bit of research. It is just the main game as well. Pretty much since the DLC has come out, it just drops. And I don't know whether that's a persistent thing that will just keep on happening every time the ticker or whatever it is behind the scenes sort of strikes 12. I don't know, but it really put me off playing the game, which
Yeah,
is
I
a
can
shame because I
imagine.
was really enjoying it because I'd managed to get my Alfa Romeo 8C and spec it up to a really high spec. And then I was just driving around going, I love this car. I love this car.
Do you think you'd have bought the DLC if it wasn't for that advert?
I was considering buying the DLC, yes, because I haven't paid anything really for the game, and the DLC, especially the Lego one, is like 11 quid.
You
And
see, here's my sort of question. Here's why I sort of asked. You know what you think of Game Pass? Not Game Pass leaving out the DLC. Um, when then do Microsoft stop putting complete experiences on Game Pass? You know how we always we had the big meme thing of games now cut out content and then add them on later for the DLC and the on disc DLC stuff. When do we get to the point of Microsoft selling us half a game?
it's an
Or not
interesting balance,
giving us
but
half a game in Game Pass and then selling us the rest with DLC?
true. Um, Again, interesting. I would say that it is not likely, given that Microsoft seems to be of the big three the most consumer friendly at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really pushing their consumer friendliness. I get the feeling that if there were a game that was to be released on Game Pass that was half a game and then the rest of it you had to buy the DLC, then you would get people not buying the DLC because they've already been shipped half a game.
It's true. It's true.
And you've got to remember that not all gamers are going to be on the Game Pass. There are people that will be going out and they will be spending $54.99 on the new Forza.
Mm-hmm.
And if they find out that they've only got half a game and the rest of it is DLC, then those sales won't. You know,
Yeah.
Game Pass at the moment is a very small slither of what sales Microsoft have, or at least I would imagine. I haven't actually looked at the stats.
I haven't either, but I'd imagine it just keeps growing and growing
Hmm.
with how much of a push they're putting on it.
Yeah, and the more people realize what a good deal it is, then the more people that will sign up for it.
This is another kind of aside, and I realise we're spending quite a long time on just the one game here, but there's been the issue of, and I don't know if it is an issue. I think Microsoft have pulled Forza Motor, whatever the new one that is coming out. Let's say it's Forza Motorsport 5. I think they're pulling Forza Motorsport 4 from the Microsoft store.
So the only Forza that is on the Microsoft Store at the moment is Forza Horizon 4. And that means that when the new Forza comes out, which is just Forza Motorsport, they've done away with numbers because apparently 8 is silly. Uh, then
I
I
mean,
imagine that
360
that
wasn't silly, or 1 wasn't silly, but
let's don't go. Let's not talk numbers and Microsoft. But yeah, it's again, I understand that. You know, if people want to play the older entries, then they can pay for them. That's fine. the Game Pass is supposed to be
No, they
the.
can't. They've been they've not just been taken off a Game Pass. I'm pretty sure I've seen that they've been taken off the Microsoft Store.
I mean, I'll have a look because I'm currently loading up the Microsoft Store. It's the advantage of being on my PC rather than my Mac. I would be surprised, but also not that surprised, if you know what I mean.
I certainly do know what you mean.
So right. The thing which I've got to point out here is the fact that Forza Horizon 4 was the first one to be put on PC.
Okay.
So that might be the thing.
I'll definitely have to look this up and fact check it later, but I'm sure I saw that like only the newest Motorsport and the newest Horizon are going to be available on to buy digitally.
Yeah, and with an iterative game like Forza, does that matter? You're not going to be missing out on anything. You can just play the new game.
That's the question that I'm asking.
If it comes to older titles, yeah, that'll be a problem. But it's the same with all digital stores. I remember when there was a big issue with Alan Wake dropping off of Steam. And everyone was like, okay, right, well, if you want to play Alan Wake, you best buy it and download it now because you won't be able to get it on Steam anymore. And then I think it was about 6 months later, it just dropped back onto Steam again.
Yeah, I don't remember it happening with Alan Wake, but Scott Pilgrim, that game's still not on anything.
Yeah, there's talk about them bringing that back though.
Mm-hmm.
But that again, that was an Xbox Store exclusive as well, wasn't it?
I think so. Oh, was it on the PSN as well?
I don't remember.
I don't.
All I know is that by the time I went to get it, it was gone.
Good team.
Yeah. So that's Forza Horizon 4. Why don't you talk for a little bit? I'm sure you've got something papery and Mario-y to talk about.
I certainly do. So we talked about Paper Mario: The Origami King a little bit last week, but I feel like I didn't really do it justice. My mind was kind of elsewhere when it came to that game. So I just wanted to take this week to sort of go over my impressions again. I've played a little bit more of the game. The first thing that stands out is, like I mentioned last time, the writing is top tier. It's charming. It's just so good. It's funny, but not too in your face about it all the time. It's not like it's haha, here's a funny jokey joke bit. It's like it's just consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't expect is there are some really genuinely good character moments. And I don't know how spoilery I'm allowed to get here. What do you think?
We need a spoiler tag, really, don't we?
We do. Are you bothered about spoilers?
Not for Paper Mario. I'm going to put my hand up, and when I put my hand down, we're done with the Paper Mario spoilers. If you can't see the hand because you're listening on Spotify or some other podcasting engine, then I apologize, and I will.
You know what? I'll link to the spoilery stuff. I might even put a spoiler thing over the video. I'll just put timing tags when the spoilery stuff ends.
What time are we at right now?
19.
19. Okay. Jump to about 24.
Okay. Probably about 21.
So my hands are up, so that means spoilers.
So, sort of near the beginning of the adventure, you meet the Bob-omb, who you call Bobby. That's not distracting in the slightest.
Don't you call it Bobby, because that's the name of your cat.
No, it's actually called Bobby, or Olivia, your partner, calls it Bobby. And that is the name of my cat as well. And it's got amnesia. And then, hilariously, there is a fireworks show, and it's looking up at the explosions, and it's like, I remember. and then from then on, it's like getting really sort of he's like getting really sort of introspective, and he's talking about like, you don't know things about me and this, that, and the other. And then you go and find, then Olivia, your partner, is trapped under a boulder. You go and find this locked box that Bobby had something really important locked away in it, and it's his fuse, and he fucking puts his fuse back on and kamikazes into this boulder, and he sacrifices himself, and it was like, I just did not expect that from a Paper Mario game, and he dies. He literally just dies, and like everyone's really sad about it. It's a genuine death. Like, have you seen that in a Mario game before?
No,
You were having
no, I
far
haven't.
too much fun there.
Sorry. The hand is still up because we're still talking spoilers. I get the feeling that I have. I get the feeling that I have seen something like that before, but I can't remember where and I can't place it. Therefore, I'm going to say no.
Like, Mario Galaxy was really somber, and I know like some of the other RPGs have sort of quiet moments, but this was really quite poignant. It was, I don't know. Yeah, it hit on the emotional chords. It tugged on the emotional heartstrings a bit too much. But you can put your hands down now because that's the spoilery stuff done.
Spoilers are done. Thank you, because my arm was killing me.
Yeah, I thought it would be. I thought it was a bad idea.
Are you kidding? My arm is like 40% of my weight.
But on top of that emotional ride, the battle system's really interesting. It's literally turn-based, like we touched on before. So it's based on a ring system where you have to solve a puzzle to line all the enemies up, either in a straight line to jump on them or in a little square to hammer them. And this is really good timing because there's just footage of the battle system coming up now.
Down there.
It's down there, right there. In the first couple of areas, it's very much like, solve this puzzle, and if you solve this puzzle, you can one-shot the enemy. And that, it was a little worrying to me because, like, I thought that's what it was going to be like for the whole game. I did have that worry, but at a certain point, battles do actually become battles. Like, even if you solve the puzzle, you're not guaranteed a one-hit KO on them. There's a bit more back and forth than that, which is nice. And the puzzles get trickier and stuff. But I am at the point where I'm like actively avoiding some battles. Have you heard the criticism of Colour Splash and Sticker Star that there was no real experience system, so there was no need to get into the battles, and they just became a bit of a chore?
Is that the same?
Yeah, but you get coins and you get confetti, and you can spend the coins on useful stuff like you'd expect to be able to. But
I mean, based on what I saw of you streaming, you had more coins than you would ever know what to do with anyway.
you say that, but then I have spent quite a lot of them. Like, there are three like badges, I think they're called, or accessories. They used to be called badges, now they're called accessories. That you can buy from each area, and they're not cheap. And as well as buying items, if you want to buy items and stuff like that, money is important, but then it does get to the point where you're like, I don't need to do this.
So how far are you from the end, or do you not know?
I'm about halfway through. I'm about to
Really?
Yeah, I'm about to go through the third area out of 6. So yeah, that's not great in terms of me obviously already getting a bit frustrated with the battle system.
Well, you never know. They might change things up in
They
the second act.
You know what? They have changed things up in certain points enough for me to be like to enjoy it and to think and to be having a good time with it. But it is just the whole I'm avoiding enough battles that it's noticeable that I'm avoiding them. Not that I'm like, oh shit, a battle or anything like that, but yeah, I am avoiding them enough for it to be obvious.
Mhm.
The exploration is a bit mixed as well. There's like it's kind of open environments, and you get a few options where to go, and there's obviously little secrets and stuff. But there was a bit just before the third chapter where I thought, you know what, I'm not going to start this right now. I thought the I've rescued a sea captain, and I can take a boat and I can explore an ocean. So I'm going to go and do that. And then I found this like abandoned cruise ship, and I was like, this is really cool, this. But there was nothing on it, and I thought, okay. And so eventually, I just went back and did the story, and then the story went, I know, let's go and explore the ocean. I've heard that there's an abandoned cruise ship, and I was like, okay. So I went back and explored the ocean, and there was the same abandoned cruise ship, but suddenly it was full of things to do.
Yeah, they should have just not let you go and do the exploration before the story got to that point, I think.
Yeah, it's one or the other, isn't it? It's either let me do the exploration and then have the story be like, oh, we've already done it,
Mm,
or not let me go and do it.
yeah. Hmm.
But
I
overall,
mean,
I'm excited to finish it.
okay, good. As long as you're still excited with it and you're still enjoying it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
a few minor quibbles.
A few minor quibbles. That's the one. What else have you been playing?
Next up, one of these new games that has come out recently, Hyrule Warriors. Oh wait, no, that came out in 2016. So Hyrule Warriors originally came out on the Wii U. It did relatively well for, the sales numbers of the console. And then it was ported to the 3DS, well, the new 3DS, and took advantage of all the new bells and whistles and increased processing power on the new 3DS.
I think you could play it on the old 3DS. I just think it was
Crap.
terrible. Yeah.
And then it was ported to Nintendo Switch as the definitive edition. And it is a Warriors game, but set in the Zelda universe. So it's my kind of Warriors game where I run around with Link and beat the crap out of moblins. And, it runs at a steady 60 frames a second, and I'm really enjoying it. But I am avoiding playing it in handheld mode because apparently in handheld mode, it still tries to render at 1080p despite it not being a 1080p screen, and it barely gets above 30 frames a second, and apparently it just ruins everything.
Oh,
Uh,
why?
so I'm only playing it on the TV at the moment. But
Surely that's such an easy fix.
yeah, but it was a quick money grubbing port, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong, the game is fantastic, and if I would encourage anybody that's got a Switch to get the game because it is just waves upon waves upon waves of moblins or skeletons or whatever coming at me, or cuckoos, because I accidentally hit one. And then yeah, it's just I'm probably about on the fifth level. I experienced a bug on the third level, which apparently is a bug that's been in there since the original game, where you get to a point where there's a choo choo bomb that won't go forwards, and the way to get around that is to restart the level.
You know what? I
Uh,
think I might have ran into that on the Wii U version. I
yeah,
can't I
it's been
can't
in there. It's
entirely
been in there
remember.
since the start, and it's either clear out the whole map, which you can't do because you can't get to some sections of the map unless the tube bomber's blown up the part of the map that you need to blow up to get to the new bit, or restart the level. And I was just sort of like, at that point, I was like, oh, I hope this isn't going to be, you know, I hope this isn't going to persist throughout the whole game, and it hasn't. In fact, I experienced it once, and since that point, it's been smooth sailing. Uh, there's a lot of weird and interesting Zelda characters in weird and interesting circumstances.
Who's your
I haven't
favourite
played
to
any of
play
the bad
as?
guys yet, but I'm looking forward to doing so because I just want to bash the shit together with Ganon and then turn to Link and go, "Yeah, boy." But it's
Who's
also got this really cool mechanic where, because there's multiple characters on the map at a time, and you can sort of jump between them, as
Mhm.
with quite a lot of the Warriors games. If you have any number of them on a particular grid square on the map at any one time, you get little buffs. So there was a boss in the fourth level, I think, where I just got all four of them in one area, and the boss just went down so quickly, and it was just ridiculous, and it was fantastic. And Link is OP as shit.
It's funny because I'm just looking. I've just got gameplay up now, and the some of the bosses just look like um,
Just
Dynasty
like Zelda
Warriors.
bosses.
No, just look like Dynasty Warriors bosses.
There's a combination that some of them are Dynasty Warriors and some of them are pulled straight from Zelda.
Yeah, yeah. Is it King Dodongo?
Yep, King Dodongo. Oh, that was an amazing boss fight.
Mm-hmm. So
But
how far through are you? Do you think?
oh, I've barely scratched the surface.
Okay.
This is a game that you're supposed to put hundreds and hundreds of hours into, and I've probably put about 10 in.
Yeah, I mean, just to the main story.
Uh, Again, barely scratched the surface.
Okay.
Uh, I've got to the point where the three main characters have just gone off into three different directions, and I've done the first one with Link on the Sky Temple,
I,
where he meets Fi, and then I've got to do the Death Mountain one and the other one, which I can't remember where it is.
I think that's about where I stopped on the Wii U version. Do the timelines split or something? Or
You have to go into different timelines because the three pieces of the big bad guy are in three different timelines, and it's like, okay, so this
you've
is how they're keeping Ganon behind the veil.
you've got to go into the different timelines because it's a fan game.
I mean, it is so fan servicey, it's ridiculous. But the characters that all play differently, I love playing as Impa because she just has this big fuck off sword and it feels weighty. Like it feels like I'm taking out swathes and swathes of bad guys.
Hmm.
And then Link's got his, standard little soldier sword and he's like, yep, but I'm quick.
Yeah.
Uh Linkle is
Oh, Linkle.
just amazing with her two little hand crossbows that she just bounces around with the hand crossbows. And
I want to play this game for Linkle alone. When I saw that Linkle was like, I think she was exclusive to the 3DS version, I was just like, no. And it
yeah,
was the one thing that nearly made me buy the DLC. I think for the I can't remember, but Linkle is just adorable.
yep. And she plays really well, and her friendlies on the map are fucking cuckoos.
Oh yes,
So you're just rampaging across the map, and instead of like having friendly soldiers nearby, it's just cuckoos.
I
Ah,
love
now
it.
you know what it's like. It's yeah, it's good fun. The one downside that I would suggest that there is with the game is the fact that it doesn't have online co-op. It only has offline co-op. Because if it had online co-op, then I would be like poking you every day, going, "Sam, get the game, Sam, come on,
and
you can be Linkle, I'll be Link.
and you know
It'd be
what?
amazing."
I'd get it instantly.
Yeah, because we'd be able to just rampage across the map.
Hmm. There's already a game that you're going to discuss today that I didn't realize you owned and that I would have bought just just to play online with you.
Yep, yeah. So yeah, that's Hyrule Warriors. It's a almost 5-year-old game, and it is amazing. And if you don't own it on your Switch, then you should because that's the best version.
Yep, I might have to buy it. I might have to buy it when I get some spare pennies. It's kind of a great turn your brain off game, isn't it? That's
Oh
how
yeah,
I
yeah.
That's how I was playing
Yeah.
it back in the day.
One last point. Uh, I started up playing, and of course you've got a theory. Um, but my girlfriend was sat on the sofa nearby, and she just all of a sudden, probably about an hour into me playing, turned to me and went, "What is that awful noise?" And I was like, "Yep, yep, well done. You are now experiencing what every Zelda player has experienced since
Hey, hey,
Ocarina of Time. Hey,
hey,
listen, listen,
listen!
hey, can you shut it up?" No.
There is a I think it's a Chance the Rapper song where it's a really chilled out beat and it's just got "Hey, listen" behind it, and I thought it'd be really annoying, but it's the opposite. It's somehow you know gone full swing, and now it's now it's
Now it's
comforting.
nostalgic.
Yep.
You look back on it with fondness, but you remember being really pissed off with it every single
Yeah.
time it happens.
Yeah.
Uh, right, I think I'm done with that. What are you up with next?
I'm up with, and you're gonna love this one. It's a game called Rogue Adventure, which is, and my first note on this is, it's the mobile game with the blandest title ever and an obvious Slay the Spire clone, but I love it. So it's a
Wait. Is this Raid Shadow Legends? Hashtag not an ad.
hashtag definitely not an ad. It's a deck building game. Where just like Slay the Spire, you make your way up a map through different rooms, fighting monsters, using cards that you've acquired along your way. Um, like Slay the Spire, there's different characters that come with different starting cards and different play styles. But I think unlike Slay the Spire, the cards that you get, some of them are generic, but there are sort of archetypes for them. Um, so like in Yu-Gi-Oh, where you'd have like your Blue Eyes archetype and your Dark Magician archetype and your Altergeist, like what I play, Um, there are different. There are like robot cards and Beastman cards and Demon cards, and they all do different things. So and there's different characters like there are with Slay the Spire. So one of the characters is a Necromancer character, which their standard cards exile themselves, like remove themselves from play, but also duplicate themselves. So your exile pile keeps growing, but your deck doesn't actually shrink. Um, and then you interact with that exile pile in different ways. Like there's one card that deals damage to every enemy by removing a card from your exile pile.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Based on the number of cards in your based on the number of monsters you've exiled so far. So like you keep them till later in the battle sort of thing. Uh, and then weirdly for a necromancer type, the robot cards synergize really well with those. So there's this cool one which gives you a robot dog card for every card in your discard pile. Oh, in your exile pile, sorry, when you play it. And so like you wait till there's like 16 in your exiled, and these cards are free to play, and they like deal 2 damage and gain you 2 armored. So you just suddenly start chipping away at them with these little robot dogs that you that spawn out of nowhere. Um, it's surprisingly a lot of fun for how sort of generic it seems. And
Yeah, it does sound, and I've just had a look at the gameplay video.
mm,
Um, yeah, it does sound a lot like Slay the Spire, uh, which I'm assuming you've played.
yes.
Yeah, but you know, it sounds like a different take on it, which is always welcome.
Mm.
And a mobile version. I mean, I think Slay the Spire is on mobile anyway, but
I think it's on iOS, not Android.
possibly. But yeah, I mean, sounds like you're having a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm. I've beat the Warrior campaign So you go normal, and then you go Inferno 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'm on Inferno 7. I'm not sure
Mhm.
what the highest is. The highest might be 10. But it's getting quite difficult now. There is a lot of like rolling the dice sort of things, like I said, the different archetypes. For the warrior, the beastman archetype is just far and away the best. It does things like deal 3 damage for each beastman card in your deck, and obviously you get more and more, and you just get ridiculous damage outputs.
Mm.
Um, and then you get beastman cards that duplicate themselves as well, so that like the damage all starts stacking up, and then ones that poison them for it's really good. I can't believe I've spoken about it for this long. You know, because
Is it a free to play title, or is it a pay up front, or is it?
it's free to play with ads. I pretty much immediately just paid for it because it was only a few quid. I do those Google reward surveys,
Mhm.
so I had plenty left over. But for a couple of quid, it was definitely worth it to take the ads off. I can't remember.
Awesome.
I can't remember the ads being too intrusive. It was like after every floor you got an ad or something.
Which is actually a pretty good way of doing it. If it ended up having full screen ads in the middle of the battle, I think I'd be a bit pissed off by that.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't anything like that. It was definitely like when you go into merchant rooms between, or you can, depending on where you are on the map, between combat things. And I think there's a way to get free coins by watching an ad. Obviously, since I've paid, I just click the free coin button and I get 50 coins.
Mm,
But I think that's locked behind an ad if you don't
right.
do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's that. That's about all I've got to say on it. But it's for a mobile game, a lot of fun.
Awesome.
What have you been on with?
Next up on my list is another new game. Well, technically, I'm not lying. Technically, it is a new game for PC. I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn on PC because it's just launched. There's been a lot of talk online about the port being shoddy, and I'll be honest with you, it's not the best port in the world. It's also not the worst port I've ever played. So there's that. Although I've put 16 hours into the game, and I'm not out of the main the starter section yet.
Oh
And
wow!
apparently, once you, oh yeah, I've just been. I think I spent about 8, maybe 9 hours hunting boar because oh no, it wasn't boar. I spent 4 hours hunting a single raccoon because every time I killed the raccoon, it wouldn't give me the high rarity drop that I needed to expand one of my packs.
Oh no!
So yeah, I also killed a load of fish, and I haven't had a fish trophy yet. So I'm going to endeavor to find if there's a fish trophy, so I can add that to my
Achievements
Steam
list.
display. Yeah, because on my account on Steam, I don't know how often you check my account on Steam. My achievement showcase is all different fishing trophies.
Is it?
It's all
I,
different fishing achievements across different games, and
I
at the
wondered where
moment
you were going with that.
I've got two Terraria ones and two Stardew Valley ones, and I don't like the fact that I've got duplicate games on there. So every game I'm going through, and it's like, oh, there's fish. I'm going to see if I can get a fishing trophy. I've not really experienced many of the issues that quite a lot of people have done with Horizon Zero Dawn. Uh, I am running it on relatively low settings and struggling to hit 60, which is a problem, but that may be just due to the fact that my graphics card is getting a little bit old now, and I'm potentially looking to upgrade that by the time a certain game appears in November. Because if I'm not able to run that at 60, I'm going to be very disappointed.
What's that
But
certain
I'm
game?
certain game, yeah. It's a small indie title that's coming out in the middle of November. Um, it's one of these open world RPG things that people like these days.
Oh, the Avengers game.
No,
No, what are you on about?
no, Cyberpunk.
Oh, of course, the biggest
How the hell
fucking.
is Avengers an indie title?
Well, Cyberpunk isn't.
Yes, it is.
No way.
It is. It is. It is developed and published independently.
Yeah, but
It may be a full on triple A or quadruple A title from the third largest publisher in the entire planet, but
no, don't buy it.
so yeah, I might be looking to upgrade my graphics card by the time that comes out. There's been a patch since the last time I played for Horizon Zero Dawn that apparently deals with a couple of issues. But the fact of the matter is, the guys at Gorilla have been very open about the fact that there are issues. They acknowledged there were issues before the title even launched on Steam, and they are very grateful to the community, especially somebody on Reddit. They explicitly mentioned a user on Reddit for the fact that they've been compiling these error lists and they are slowly working through them. The big problem I had with Horizon Zero Dawn, and you're aware of this because I bitched at you about it on the night of its release, was the fact that I spent, 2 days prior, there was a, hey, preload. So I preloaded it, and then it wouldn't play, and it wanted like 6 hours to unpack, and then once it finished unpacking, it said, nope, corrupted. So I had to delete the preload and reinstall it. And by the time it got to that point where I could play it, it was about midnight. So I ran there's a fairly lengthy shader installation process at the first startup of the game, which probably took about an hour as well. On the bright side, I was running that loading screen at 144 frames a second. Just
Putting that
but
144 hertz monitor to good use.
yeah, I mean, the gameplay. I love the gameplay. I love the world. For the first sort of 2 or 3 hours of the game, I was playing it through, and I was just sort of like, okay, yeah, this is generic open world stuff with a bow and arrow. Okay, yeah, it feels very Tomb Raider. I can't remember why. I was really underwhelmed because I remembered it being something completely different to what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then about the 3 hour mark, something just in the story just switches, and then all of a sudden you're just sort of like, oh shit, yeah, I remember why this was weird. I remember why I was so engrossed in this world. Yeah, uh, cool. I'm gonna play more. So yeah, there
so
is
the
an initial slowdown of just sort of like it's an open world, it's post apocalypse,
mm-hmm.
and there's a story, you're an outcast, but it gets to a point shortly after it's pretty much the conclusion of the tutorial section, and it's just sort of, oh, okay, yeah, so that shit's happening. I need to know what the fuck's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one of those worlds that just pulls you in,
Well,
and the people in
Sony
there just
Sony have killed that with their first party releases this generation, haven't they? The old third person narrative adventure game. What
so there are probably 4 titles on the PlayStation 4 that I wish they'd bring to PC. One of which is Horizon Zero Dawn, which has happened. Spider-Man, really want to play Spider-Man. I've watched the entire playthrough of Spider-Man, and I still want to play it myself. God of War, I've watched the entire playthrough of God of War and all the special bonus content of God of War, and I still want to play it myself. And the other one, not Control, because that's on PC.
Bloodborne. That's coming.
Bloodborne. Is it coming to PC?
I think so. Yeah. Maybe it's just heavily rumored. I don't know.
Don't do this to me, Sam. Don't do this to me. The other one would have been Death Stranding, but that's on PC already.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not one of those titles where I watched it and went, but it's just one of those titles that is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There was a big conversation around it. I love how the sort of For me, a PS5 is a day one purchase just because I don't have a PS4 and there are so many PS4 games I want to play on it, and
Yeah,
also they've the quality of their exclusives. They've earned my trust with it.
yeah. Yeah, looks like Bloodborne is coming to PC. It's just a rumor at the moment, but apparently there was a major playtest last month. Uh, the big news story from that is the fact that apparently it won't go over 60 FPS,
Yes, yeah, I saw that.
but but if I can get it to 60 FPS, don't care.
Yeah, you'd be
Don't care.
very happy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah. It's Dark Souls, but in a weird, in a weird Cthulhu-esque universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm all over that. So yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn. The gameplay is fantastic. There's an awful lot of crafting and rubbish, and I get the feeling that I've barely scratched the surface of what's going on. Um, Aloy is like probably one of the best player characters that has been created in the last 20 years. And Ashley Birch does a great job voicing her. I think you've got a couple more to talk about, and then we'll dive into the big old boy.
Yeah, it's we're running quite late on this one. We've got more to talk about than I thought we had. Um, but yeah, I've jumped back into two games on Switch recently. That one of those titles where you're looking through your games list and you're like, I never finished that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Golf Story and Hollow Knight.
One of those I added to my wish list this week. The other one I am also slowly playing my way through.
You're playing Hollow Knight, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I added Golf Story to my wish list earlier this week.
It, Golf Story is so much fun. You'll love it. You will love Golf Story.
Oh, I know. That's why I haven't watched anybody play it through yet.
No, it's great fun. I love the art style. It's really wacky. I'm suffering from the whole like, wait, what am I supposed to be doing? Where was I supposed to be going with both games at the minute? But I think I'll get over that. Um, Golf Story, I jumped back in to a Halloween themed course, and it's just so fun. Like I had to hit chicken drumsticks into a lake of blood to feed the alligators, and I had to spark up lawnmowers. Yeah,
Oh, that's amazing.
I had to spark up lawnmowers with an electric chipper. You'll like this one. I had to prepare an army of evil minions by finding their eyeballs and then hitting them like golf balls into the into the head. So ridiculous.
That sounds amazing.
You're helping like these tombstones, and you're also helping these two people gather up an army of minions, and then the tombstone is like, wait, you've been helping them as well, like you fool. Um, I also played a normal round of golf on the course, which was fun as well. And that was so that I could sign a ghost's name on the scorecard, so that it could finally be at peace. Like, it's just even the normal rounds of golf, there's something to them.
That's amazing.
It's so good. It's so much fun. Um, yeah, I just need to finish it now because it is right up my street. As I say, I think it'll be right up your street.
Yeah, it. Like I say, I added it to my wish list this week. If I make it to the end of next week without buying it, I'll be surprised.
And Sports Story is supposedly coming out this year.
Oh, really?
It's
Sequel
yeah,
or spiritual sequel thing?
I think it's an actual sequel. I'm not entirely sure, but
Interesting.
its release date has been moved from something like mid 2020 to be announced.
Yeah.
Which is either Nintendo saying it's coming in the next direct, or it's Nintendo saying, look, we don't know when it's coming.
I mean, it's not developed or published by Nintendo, so
No, but I think they're. I don't think they're heavily involved with the development of it, but I think they'll be involved with the marketing of it and stuff like that.
oh yeah, after the success of Golf Story,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. And then Hollow Knight is obviously just fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, moving around in that game's just so snappy and responsive. You've played it, right?
Yes.
It's tough as nails.
Oh yeah.
Do you get it?
Yeah. Yeah. I spent a good evening trying to beat one of the bosses. So much so that my girlfriend was like, "You're never going to beat this thing. You're never going to beat this thing." And I
Mm-hmm.
was just sort of like, "Are you seeing me get better every time?"
That was Ornstein and Smo for me in Dark Souls 1. Have I ever told you the story of that?
Yes, you have. Yeah.
My only ever video game freak out, and I was so glad no one else was in the house. But I got it down to literally. I'd been trying so many times on this boss, so many times. Again, like more than a whole evening's worth. It was like days, and I
Yep.
finally got to the point where I had one hit left on it on I think it was on the skinnier one. Anyway,
Mhm.
um, and what happened? I had one hit left, and I thought, right, I'm not going to go too gung ho with this. I'm going to be really careful. I went to the other side of the room, healed, and as I was doing the healing animation, before the bar had filled up, I got hit with a ranged attack, and that was it. I was just like, no. I had a
We've all
proper,
been there.
I had a proper Aaron Hansen style freak out, and that was the literally in 20 plus years of playing games, the only time I've ever done that.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
remember. I remember. I don't do that often, but my brother used to. My brother used to do that a
hmm
lot,
my
to
cousin
the
used
point
to.
where we had a 6 hour delay to one of our flights coming back from Cyprus, I think it was. Um, and he punched his Game Boy and broke his Game Boy after hour one.
Wow,
Because he was struggling on a Minish Cap boss.
seemed like a pretty cool guy, pretty chill guy to me.
Yeah, yeah, he is now. This is back when he was a moody teenager.
I see, I see.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
With Hollow Knight, it's the whole Souls thing of being very, very, very vague. And like I found it easy to get back into the swing of gameplay and to the swing of like the combat and the movement system and stuff like that, but I found it very difficult to just to remember what I need to do and remember where I need to go because there's no objectives, there's no
mhm.
and it's literally just I'm trying to find parts of the map that I've not explored yet. Um, I'm gonna give it another go. Hopefully, I haven't taken too much time off that I'm just lost.
I mean, if you are, then is there any harm in? I mean, depending on how far through you are,
I think
is
I'm
there
pretty.
any?
I think I'm pretty far through. I think there is harm in restarting.
Okay, well then, I won't suggest that then.
But that's those two lumped into one little nice little thing
Indeed.
there. I think you've
And
got one more
finally,
title. The
yep,
game of the minute.
finally, it's the game of the moment. It's Fall Guys. I'm going to link this in with our first news article because it's actually like our fourth news article. But I'm gonna say fuck the system and fuck the police. So it's essentially Takeshi's Castle, the game. It's amazing. You are one of 60 Fall Guys who are just random dudes with random colors and occasionally dressed like a chicken, uh, running an insane obstacle course and trying to be number one, with which I haven't yet. I've got to the last stage a few times, but I'm always eluded by success. Uh, it is ridiculous fun. It's you know it is a just fantastic multiplayer achievement. to the point where on launch they had from launch to now they've had 1.5 million new players. And by new players, what they mean is players that weren't playing during the beta period that they had. So actual sales are closer to the 2 million mark, and I think they actually surpassed 2 million. And this is a teeny weeny little Devolver Digital title that's I think it costs 15 quid,
I think it's
and
Devolver's.
everybody is playing. There
I,
are microtransactions, but they're all cosmetic.
I think it's Devolver's
Uh,
biggest launch, right?
it's Devolver's biggest launch that they've ever had, yeah.
And um,
And
that's
it's
that's
just
kind of big news because Devolver is known for their more like single player weird little indie games, right?
like Hotline Miami
Mm-hmm.
and what's the one which I really Enter the Gungeon. Oh, love
Yes.
Enter the Gungeon. Uh,
So for a
yeah,
multiplayer game to be,
Devolver Digital are the purveyors of fantastic little indie titles. If you want a fantastic little indie title, just type in Devolver Digital, pick a random one off the list, and it's guaranteed to be enjoyable.
mm-hmm.
But Fall Guys is just so much fun. It's just absolute chaos every single time. They are adding a new course with the most recent patch, and they are going to continue working on adding in new courses. They've worked on course balance and likelihood, and it just sounds like it's going to go from strength to strength. And if it continues making the money, then it continues making the money, and they can keep on pumping in new content. And
I,
I'm just going to keep on. It's fantastic if you've got like 20 minutes worth of time. If you say you're sat on your machine, you've got 20 minutes before you have to go out somewhere. You could jump in, play 20 minutes, and that's it. You're done.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you will enjoy every moment of it. And it is bright and colourful and delightful, and it runs on a potato.
Tim Geddes was saying from Kind of Funny. I've been listening to the Gamescast quite a lot lately, and the Kind of Funny Games Daily and stuff. He said it's got such a Nintendo quality about it, where
Yes.
like Mario Kart and Mario Party, there's all this randomness to it, but there's also loads of skill to it, and
Yep.
it's
If this had come out and it had been Mario characters, then I wouldn't have been surprised,
no.
and it would have done as well. It is just fantastic, and there is a reason why everybody on Twitch is playing it right now, and that's because it's
Just looking at it, it looks like a lot of fun. You know
yeah.
what I mean? You can't get over that first impressions, can you?
No, it looks chaotic, but it looks fun.
Mm-hmm.
The controls are tight. The most of the games are fair. Uh, some there is a slight meta revolving in some of the team games, and there is I'm always more disappointed when I go out based on a team game than when it's solo.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, okay, well, quite a lot of that I couldn't do anything about. Whereas when it's the solo ones and I accidentally mistime my jump and end up in the slime, yeah, that's my fault. But, I press A couple of times and I'm back in the game and I'm
That's
starting a new run.
that's so important for an arcade experience like this, isn't it? I had that article about how sort of arcade transitioned to a genre
Mm-hmm.
for the home console, and that was the one of the most important points, is that you need to be able to just click A and be in a new round instantly.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I might buy it and let's play it after this.
Totes, go for it. It's like a 500 meg download, so
Oh, easy.
yeah.
Shall we take a quick break and then get onto the news?
Yeah, we can do.
This week we are sponsored by a handheld battery-operated fan.
Oh,
Oh,
is that one of those ones that also sprays water at you?
it doesn't. No, it's not that fancy.
Ah, But those are available, and we are also sponsored by them.
We're sponsored by everyone.
Everyone and everything.
No, but this has been my lifesaver during this ridiculous week of heat in the UK.
A piddly little fan.
This piddly little fan. No,
Piddly little fan. Okay.
I have actually got a desk fan now as well, but when I didn't have one, this I was just sat there like that. Right.
Right. We'll be back in terms of your time, no time at all. In terms of our time, probably about a week. Toodles. And then she just whipped it out, and I was sort of like, "But why would you do that?" And
Whipped
she
it
was
out,
just
just
sort
the
of like,
one.
"Just the one, yeah." And it's like, I know, I know that you're obsessed with this, but there's no
We're
need
back.
to. Huh?
We're back.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you about the Hogwarts part later.
Okay.
Welcome back to more video games and chill. Yeah, news. There's news about. Most of it is newsworthy.
Yeah,
We've just
not
gone through and cut a few things out, and then Sam's decided to add something because he thinks it'll add to the discussion. First things up. These are all relatively quick news stories. I don't know, how quickly we want to rattle through them, but there's a third person. Oh, that's because I've got it open on two different screens. That's weird. It seems like there's three different people editing this document when actually it's only the two of us. Anyway, so first things first. Avengers, that game which has currently in the beta, and all the feedback from the beta has been middling at best. Apparently, Spider-Man is going to be exclusive to the PlayStation series of consoles. Not entirely unsurprising, given that Sony has, a chokehold on Spider-Man that, would be considered illegal in most places other than America. You're really quiet right now. Oh, it was just you being quiet, I think.
no, I had myself on mute.
Ah!
While I was typing up the news to put into the so my clicky clacky click keyboard wasn't on the
That's weird,
audio.
because I still heard you. Work that shit out.
Weird.
Weird indeed. But yeah, Spodemon is exclusive to the Sony series of consoles as DLC. This is a dick move, not only because it
It's not
means that
DLC, is it?
it's a DLC.
I thought it was just.
It's the first wave of DLC is going to be Spider-Man and Hawkeye.
Oh, is that right?
So he's not going to have anything to do with the main story, but considering that Crystal Dynamics and Squeenix want this to be a live platform for their game.
See, I thought it was a free update. I didn't think it was paid DLC.
I'm fairly sure it might be free DLC, but it's definitely DLC. But yeah, so if you're on PlayStation, you can be Spider-Man, and probably the most popular Marvel character in the history of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're on Xbox and PC, you can not be Spider-Man and be happy in the knowledge that you're not still playing what is probably going to end up being a shit game, based on everything I've seen about it.
It's hard, right? Because who's to blame here?
So
are Sony to blame for having the stranglehold on the character, or are Squeenix to blame? Should they have said, if Sony had said you can only have Spider-Man in the PS4 and PS5 versions, should Squeenix have said, well, it's not in the game?
Is that
then?
the case? Who has the gaming rights for Spider-Man? Is it a case of Sony have the gaming rights of Spider-Man? Which wouldn't make sense given that the original Spider-Man trilogy of games, and then the Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2 were cross-platform. Is this a case of Sony have gone, we want exclusivity on this character? Is this something that's happened as part of the deal with Disney uh, to get Spider-Man in the Avengers and in Far From Home? We just don't know. There is not enough information out there to know whose fault this is, but it's somebody's, and it's a dick move.
It's shit.
It is anti-consumer. That there are people on PlayStation who are absolutely loving this, and then everybody else in the world is just going, no. Why are you doing this in this day and age? Why? Console exclusive characters should not be a thing. Console exclusive DLC it should be the same game for the same platform for every platform.
It's weird because we're running into the thing now of, have you seen all the other exclusive stuff that's coming out, like the Verizon costumes and I don't know if there's like an Intel costume pack and stuff like that, exclusive to if you use their services. And it's
really? What, all in Avengers?
Yeah.
So when this news came out, I said to Sam quite bluntly that I get the feeling that this is them trying to make money out of a situation where they know they're not going to make money on the game. And I get the feeling that this is going to be Squeenix's Anthem. I really do. The feedback that I've seen from the beta, the feedback I've seen from gameplay trailers and people streaming it, it just seems like it's going to be a generic middle of the road, try to please everyone. Just farce, for lack of a better word.
I have heard people say that it's quite fun.
Okay, cool.
And with the Avengers title tied to it, is quite fun good enough?
I would take an enjoyable 16-hour linear comic book based campaign with the five characters that they've got: Hulk, Black Widow, Thor, Iron Man, Cap. Yeah, with the five characters that they've got.
Captain America dies right at the start.
It's Marvel.
Oh yeah, he's coming back in the game, but who knows?
But yeah, I would take
or
fine 4 characters then. I would take a 16-hour fun little romp with a story, and just being able to run around just Thor with a hammer, battering the shit out of things. Fuck all this RPG bullshit. Just give me all of Thor's powers. Make me feel like a fucking god of thunder. Make me feel like the smartest person in the room when I'm playing as Iron Man. Make me feel like an ultimate weapon of destruction when I'm playing as Hulk, and make me feel like sexy Laurie Bailey when I'm, Scarlett Johansson. No, wait. Black Widow, and it's Laura Bailey doing the voice of it, and Scarlett Johansson is only there because she was in the film.
Yep. But that's the thing. People's initial reactions to it, to the game, were, excuse me, were
laughable.
It was just people said that they're knockoff MCU Avengers. They're not comic book, they're not their own thing, but they're not as good as the MCU Avengers. People were like, these models look like shit. But they did kind of change them a bit, and
so the first feedback I saw was that people were saying, "Oh, they don't look like the characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe," and it's like, yeah, I know, because the comic book characters don't look like the characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, Robert Downey Jr. does look like Tony Stark, but outside of that,
but it was one of those where they looked a bit middle of the road, didn't they?
Yes, and also everybody was like, "Oh, well, they don't sound like the characters either," and it's like, no, because they sound like the characters from the cartoon series, because Travis Willingham voices Thor in pretty much everything other than the MCU. Laura Bailey does Black Widow, and somebody else in the MCU. Troy Baker does pretty much every voice that's been known to man in the video game industry, and
the difficult thing is it's they were definitely trying to go for an MCU like aesthetic, but it was
what you mean realistic?
kind of I don't know. I feel like they wanted to sort of. I feel like they're trying to please too many people, and we come back to this point with a lot of what we talk about. They were trying to please comic book fans and MCU fans to the point where they had a weird middle ground mess.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
and they were trying to capitalize on the fact that the Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame was the biggest cinematic event to ever happen.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
of when they announced it, and it was in the sort of slight cool down period of Endgame has just come out. One of the positives I can see from Avengers is the fact that Captain Marvel. No, it's not Captain Marvel. It's Miss Marvel, isn't it?
Miss Marvel, yeah.
Is seemingly going to be the main central character, which, as a person of color and as a female person of color specifically, is a big move in a big direction that should be happening more. And that's positive, and it sounds like the actress that they've got to play her has been reveling in this fact, and it sounds like they've been incredibly respectful to the heritage of that character. But
more representation is always good.
More representation is always good. But it's like there is so much negative stuff coming out about this title that I just don't think it's going to get off the ground. You know what it's going to be? It's going to be Tony Stark's first attempt at flight with his boots in the original Iron Man film. You know the scene which I'm talking about?
I do.
Where the boots go off and he goes straight into a wall. And that's what this game is going to be. It's going to be.
I don't know.
We're trying. It's a good idea. It's a great idea. Oh shit, we don't have stabilizers. Oh shit, we've hit a wall.
I don't know. Like, what if people buy a PS5 and an Xbox Series X, and it's like, okay, what have I got to play on this game, this console? You know, and especially the Series X. We'll talk about that in a bit. But what if people are just like, well, this is an Avengers game. Goes back to the thing. Does the Avengers title sell it in store shelves? Does that make people go?
I will give you a great analogy here. The Avengers title on the game box will do for the Avengers what the BioWare logo on the box did for Anthem.
But BioWare isn't a household name like Avengers is. I know what
for video games it is.
Not to the same level as just general consumer knowledge.
I know. So
I know what you're saying, because like gamers know who BioWare are, and they know
what you're saying is, are parents going to go in and buy this for their children? Probably. I don't doubt that it is going to sell like hotcakes. What I doubt is that whether or not it's going to have the longevity that they think it's going to.
Yes. Yeah.
Given all these exclusivity agreements, given all of this promotion that they're doing, given all of the money that they're taking from all of the different places, it just smacks to me of a game that knows that it's not going to be as good as it should be.
Yeah.
And it's got to get its money from somewhere.
I agree with that.
Don't get me wrong. If I am wrong, I will love it. I will love it if I am wrong. I'm going full Kevin Keegan. I love it. I love it if we beat them. I love it. Yeah, if I'm wrong, fantastic. I will be able to play a decent Avengers game. But I'm just not seeing it at the moment.
Where I am with it is that I think you're right in the fact that I don't think it has legs. I don't think people will be looking at this 2 years from now and going, oh yes, the new Scarlet Widow DLC is coming out. But I do think those initial sales figures will be there.
Yeah, because it's got the Avengers title, and because there are people that have been waiting for a decent Avengers game for however long, forgetting the fact that obviously there's been decent Marvel titles in the past. But yeah, the Spider-Man deal, the exclusivity is just it's one step too far, I think.
Yeah, same. What's next on the
Next,
docket?
Blizzard employees are revolting, and by that we don't mean that they're disgusting. We mean that, well, and they're not even revolting. There was an article on GameSpot, and I think a couple of other gaming journalism places ran with it. Blizzard employees are sharing their wages and their working hours and all of this jazz, and realizing that there are a lot of people that are being paid significantly different money for doing the exact same fucking job,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not happy with it. And apparently, it's a rebellion when you start sharing your paychecks and sharing what information and how much you're being paid. So there's a lot of people at Blizzard that aren't very happy right now because Bobby Kotick took home $30 million last year, or $300 million, or something stupid like that. And there are people working at Blizzard that are sleeping on the floors of their offices because they can't afford rent on
Here's
a property.
here's a direct quote from the GameSpot article. Kotick is one of the highest paid executives in the entertainment media industry, with his compensation last year topping 30 million.
Oh, it was 30. Okay. Yeah, and that's
For
not
every
even in,
Iwata takes a pay cut so his employees don't have to story, there must be like 5-10 of these.
yeah. Yep. Bobby
Unfortunate to
Kotick
see.
can, as far as I'm concerned, go suck a dick. Please sue me. I will stand by that statement. He's just $30 million. I mean, who needs that amount of money?
Especially when employees
Yeah, especially when
aren't
employees
compensated.
are struggling to, you know, are living paycheck to paycheck. These are software developers. These are game developers. They shouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, fair enough. Some of that is partly to do with, the U.S. economy and the fact that Blizzard is based in Anaheim, and that's one of the more expensive places to rent or buy properties in the US. Yeah, there's an
But these
awful
are
lot that's contributing to that. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not paying your employees a living wage, and then you're expecting them to do 60 hours plus overtime a week to crunch this game out, and it's just not good business practice.
no, and it doesn't look good when things like this come out.
No, but the fact of the matter is, nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. What's happened is that a couple of employees have put together a spreadsheet saying this is the wide variation of wages in this company, all anonymous, all just, and that's not against the law, but apparently that's a revolt.
Yeah, sucks.
Next up,
Apple.
yeah. Speaking of being a dick, Apple's walled garden for its App Store is a walled garden for some and a walled garden with a gate for others. Apparently, streaming video content is perfectly fine, but streaming gaming content is not. Xbox, their Xbox X Cloud Series X Electric Boogaloo application has been denied through Apple's verification process because it needs to be able to verify all content that goes onto the application because they expect
And these are,
bullshit commercial rubbish.
yeah, I was going to say, these are games that are rated individually by the ESRB and by whatever.
But they need to be of the same they need to be of the same quality as all other gaming titles on the App Store, like Clash of Clans and like Raid Shadow Legends
Mm-hmm.
and whatever the
Ridiculous.
other advertise, but best fiends. You know, these
Yes.
money grubbing pieces of shit that people spend $400 on
Hmm.
just so that they can have a shiny fucking iris in one of their characters. No,
the
I'm
thing is,
sorry.
Apple are happy to take home a piece of that pie, and they won't get enough of the Game Pass pie.
Yeah, essentially that's what it's going to come down to, isn't it? It's
Hmm.
going to come down to the fact that, oh yeah, you can stream these video games, but Apple isn't getting anything.
Hmm.
You can buy DLC on these games through this application, but Apple doesn't get a cut. That's
Hmm.
what it's going to come down to. And that sort of leads us into the second part of this story, which is the fact that Fortnite has been removed from both the Apple and Google Play Store. And that is to do with the fact that Epic added some internal purchasing through Fortnite, and Apple and Google were like, "Oh no, you can't do this because we're not going to get a cut."
It was a big dick move by Epic
It was a big dick move by Epic, which is going to end up
because
hopefully, working in the gamer's favor. Don't get me wrong, hate Fortnite. I don't hate it. I just played it. It wasn't my game. I love the fact that there are loads of people that enjoy playing the game.
well the thing is, the reason why it's such a big dick move is because they had an antitrust lawsuit. I'm just reading an article from The Verge right now, but it says,
But you are The Verge.
I am The Verge. Epic countered Apple's removal with an antitrust lawsuit prepared well in advance and complete with a detailed 62-page legal complaint.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
they knew exactly what they were doing. I
yeah.
don't.
They knew it was going to happen. They knew somebody high up at Epic was probably one of the lawyers went, you know, if we do this, they are going to come after. They are going to remove us from the App Store, and they went, cool, yeah, here you go.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, we're ready for this. Uh,
It's
good, fucking good.
it's a difficult one because, like, are Epic the good guys here?
Yes, they are pro-consumer. Don't get me wrong, Epic have had some shady business practices for longer than I can remember. But no, this is good. This sort of thing can only serve to better the games that are being produced and the gamers' rights.
They're definitely pro developer because this is
Yes.
essentially saying more profits need to go to the devs. Now, you can say that. I mean, they're a big enough voice in the industry that they can say that and they will be heard. And if it trickles down into smaller developers, then good. But if
Yep.
this is just about Epic making more money off of Fortnite, then that takes some of the wind out of its sails for me.
So what's going to happen here is there is, I'm not 100% on your knowledge of the American legal system. But what will happen here is that Epic will win the lawsuit. Apple and Google will have to put their store they'll have to put Fortnite back on the App Store and the Google Play Store. And then there is this thing in legal history called a precedent that has been set, where
Yes.
in the future any lawsuit that would happen for other developers doing similar things, the judge will be able to point to the precedent that has been set and said, well, this decision here means that all further lawsuits containing similar circumstances should be judged in this manner.
Mhm. And that's kind of what I was getting at with the whole, if it is a move to stand up for the little guys, then great. Fantastic.
Honestly, with the amount of money that they make through Fortnite, can you really see? Not just that, but fair enough. If it was just the money made through Fortnite, then yeah, I could see a company going, we're getting a lot of money, but we could be getting more.
Yeah.
fuck it, let's go for a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against two of the biggest companies on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's you take that in combination with the recent announcement about the Unreal Engine 5, where developers are going to be able to produce content with the Unreal Engine and not pay any money up until $1 million. You look at it in combination with the fact that they are heavily promoting indie content on their Epic Game Store
Yeah.
platform, that they are publishing indie content, that they are reinvesting the money that they get from Fortnite back into the gaming community,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have a CEO that is taking home $30 million whilst their employees are struggling to live paycheck to
Yeah.
paycheck. Just a caveat there. I don't know about the work environment at Unreal and Epic,
That's Epic. Yeah.
but I can't imagine that it
Nothing,
would be.
nothing has come out that is as egregious as other companies. That might
Nothing has come out ever
no.
about uh, about Epic Games and their work practices. There's the slight negative of Epic Games in the fact that they are partially owned by Tencent and they are technically partially owned by Sony. But at the end of the day, they are seemingly pushing for developer. The more developers that are developing decent games for their platform, the more money they are going to make.
Yeah, essentially, if you look at it a bit cynically, they come out on top of all of this because more people use Unreal Engine, then more people pay them royalties, even though they don't have to pay royalties on quite as much, or until a larger threshold has been
Yeah,
hit. But as long as that is good for the people who like pro developer, almost like pro the little guys, and also trickles down to be pro consumer,
yep,
because it means there are more games that will have access to the sort of tools that are needed for either a big budget or just a
yep,
good video game to be made. Yeah.
yeah. I wholeheartedly support it, and you know, until there's evidence that comes out that says that the reason why they're doing it is because Epic are greedy bastards, I'm going to believe that they are doing it for not only their developer brothers and sisters, but also for the consumers that
Mm-hmm.
you know are the reason why they are as popular as they are.
Absolutely. Go Epic.
Yeah. So there's a couple more articles. One is to do. One of them I put on there because it's another article in the same vein as articles that we've all seen before, and the specific article is uh, somebody came out, one of the indie developers came out and said, "Oh no, we're really struggling to be seen on the Switch. Nintendo aren't doing enough to curate their game store and make it so that indie developers can be seen."
But the difficult thing is, I'm sure I saw before you put this on there, or maybe just after you put this on the document. I was on Twitter and I saw the same article about PS4.
Yeah, this is why I put it on here because I wanted to have this discussion of, okay, fine, indie developers are struggling to be seen, but surely that just indicates that they're not making good enough games.
Not
This
making
is the
good enough
same argument
games.
that has been made
Not
about the PlayStation 4. This is the same argument that's been made about the Xbox Series X. It was made about the PlayStation 3. It was made about the Xbox 360. It was made about Steam. It's been made about every
not
every
make
platform that sells games.
not making good enough games, not marketing the games enough, just not making it look appealing enough, not giving yourself that visibility. And I understand what they're saying. Maybe Nintendo isn't helping as much as they quote unquote should, but how much should they do?
yeah, they the Switch is a good platform for indie titles.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's
great
fine.
platform for indies.
Steam is also a good platform for indie titles, and it has the same problem. And there's been the same arguments made. But at the end of the day, if you are developing a good game, then that game will get recognition.
Hmm.
And if
Um,
it doesn't, then unfortunately, that's just the algorithm. But people know that going in. And as much as I have sympathy for these developers, it's also a case of, that's like somebody walking into Sainsbury's and saying, "Oh, my milkshake isn't being given prime placement on the front
hmm
entrance of
hmm
Sainsbury's, so I'm not getting enough sales, and it's your fault."
hmm Not every student film director becomes Chris Nolan.
Yeah,
Same with
you
same
know,
with it. Same
it's
with video games. Sometimes if your game doesn't have the exposure or even the quality or just the appeal, um,
and
then it won't sell.
yeah,
Simple as
and
that.
this isn't something that is exclusive to the gaming environment, the gaming whatever we are
I'm sure plenty.
franchise.
I'm
No,
sure plenty of authors self-publish on Amazon and don't see the sales that they need to.
I was
Plenty of.
thinking about movies. There's a reason why movies get cult status.
Yeah, true,
You know,
true.
you look at one of my favorite movies of all time, Equilibrium. Uh, did absolutely abysmal at the box office. You can't. Sometimes it's just a fact of life that sometimes the work you put in doesn't come out the other end.
Yeah,
But bitching and moaning to somewhere, to the publisher or to the shop in which it's sold is not the way to go about it.
no, absolutely not.
If you're not visible on an app store, then do something about it. Send out keys to YouTubers, send out keys to streamers, send out, you know, review keys, offer to do interviews for gaming publications.
hmm Even tiny ones, you
Yeah,
know.
even tiny ones. Send us a key. We will discuss it. It will get you no sales, but it would be a start. It would be better than sitting there and bitching to some journalist about the fact that you can't get your product onto the front page of the Nintendo eShop.
hmm
Congratulations, you're like 99% of all of the developers that are on the Nintendo eShop. Sorry, rant at indie developers is over.
hmm
Speaking of the eShop, do you want to jump into the one which you added?
Yeah, yeah, I will do. So, Pikmin 3. So, obviously, Pikmin 3 Deluxe has been announced. To some people are very happy. Some people are like, really? Is this what you're showing? That's me. um,
We hit both ends of the spectrum on this show. This is why we produce the quality content that you are currently viewing / listening to / reading.
and Nintendo have gone for the decision of removing Pikmin 3 from the Wii U eShop. And it's significant because it's not the first time they've done this. They did this with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and I believe that both those games were in the Nintendo Selects line, which meant that they were only $19.99. So essentially, they're it comes across as though they don't have the faith in Pikmin 3 Deluxe to sell well on its own merits on the Switch.
How?
Because they're saying, okay, yes, you could get this game cheaper elsewhere. They're removing that option.
Okay, they're
Completely.
removing that option. Do you not think that with the sales figures of the Switch, that if those people had wanted to buy that game on the Wii U, based on the sales figures of the Wii U and the amount of sales that each of those titles has had on the Wii U, bearing in mind that they are probably two of the top selling titles on the Wii U, that removing it from the eShop is not a case of, oh no, we don't have faith in this title to sell. It's just a case of, we're pretty certain that everybody that would have purchased these titles on this platform has purchased it.
Then why not just leave it up?
Server space.
What harm does it do being on there?
Also, it removes confusion because they are releasing these brand new extended enhanced editions, and it stops the consumer having going on their Wii U and being like, oh yeah, Pikmin 3, that I'll pick that up. I recently heard it's going to have an enhanced edition.
But to me, it's like, if they didn't do this, how many? To me, it screams of the fact that Nintendo don't want to lose out sales. They don't want to market this deluxe edition for them to make people buy the old Wii U edition.
But how many sales would they have?
Exactly, that's my point. How many people would go, oh yeah, I remember that game on the Wii U. I'll go back and buy it there since it's cheaper. It would be a minuscule amount of people. It's just baffling to me that they've even done this.
Yeah, you see, I don't see as big an issue with it. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Would have been nice if people who own that platform were able to buy these games, but both titles will be available to buy pre-owned pretty much anywhere you can buy games. And I don't know, I just don't see a big thing about it. I really don't.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. I just think it seems weirdly petty.
Yeah, I understand your viewpoint. I just don't agree with it.
Okay.
But I respect the fact that you have that viewpoint, and I respect your viewpoint.
That's how we do on this show.
Yeah, you're fucking wrong. But you're fucking wrong, and you're a dick. You're fucking wrong, and you're a dick, and you've got a nose like Pinocchio.
Hey, hold on a minute.
Wait. Hang on. Say you're wearing ladies' underwear.
I'm wearing ladies' underwear.
Wait, are you? I love that. I love that episode. That episode, that part in the film. Last thing on our news is probably the biggest news of the news. Halo Infinite, after a less than whelming display at the Xbox Games Showcase extravaganza, has been delayed until 2021. You're gonna have to wait that little bit longer for your Halo fix.
It puts Xbox in such a weird place, right?
Yeah, I mean, it now means that. But this is the thing which I was arguing, is the fact that it was fair enough. It was technically going to be a Series X launch title, but was it, because it was available on the Xbox One as well?
That's the issue. That's the issue with all of the Xbox Series X stuff, isn't it? That it's all available elsewhere.
Yeah, and we had quite a discussion about this, about the fact that we're still not certain about what the Xbox Series X is.
And I have got an article on that coming out soon.
Is it a new Xbox? Is it like a new iPhone where it's going to be exactly the same as the old Xbox and all of the service updates are going to come to the old Xbox? And, I don't know. Is the honest answer. Is the messaging coming out of Microsoft is really unclear.
Mm-hmm.
And given that it still doesn't have a release date, it still doesn't have a release price, there's pretty much confirmation that there's going to be an Xbox Series S, because of packaging on a couple of Xbox controllers. which is probably going to be the digital-only version to go along with the PlayStation 5 microwave toaster deluxe edition. Who knows? I
Who
think I
knows?
think it's more indication, if any were needed, that the new devices have come along far too soon again. Because there is still life in the current consoles, and it just proves that generations are now sort of extending from the 5-year cycle that it used to be to the 8-year cycle that the previous generation was, and this one probably should have been a 10-year cycle.
Maybe. Maybe it's hard to know, isn't it? We'll see when sales
Maybe it's
figures come
moving
out.
away from cycles altogether, and there's going to be just a constant iterative update of Xboxes every year.
That's what Microsoft seem to want, but Sony do not seem to want that in the slightest.
Yeah. But yeah, Halo Infinite delayed until 2021, so chances are you're going to be able to get an Xbox Series X this Christmas if you want one to
Yeah.
play the Avengers and Watch Dogs. And I think that's it.
Yep. Weird times. Weird
Weird
times.
times indeed, and that's a weird place to leave the news, but yeah.
Should we take a quick break before getting into the discussion?
Excuse the yawning. Yeah, we should. Shall I do our next sponsor?
I have our next sponsor in my hand.
You have
right
our next
now.
sponsor. Go for it.
Video Games and Chill is sponsored by these old rusty toenail clippers.
Funnily enough, we are sponsored enough that we have 2 pairs.
Oh, that couldn't have been planned better, could it?
Rusty nail clippers for all your nail clipping needs.
If you want them to just be a little bit, not quite as clean of a cut as you'd usually get, an old rusty pair.
And if you're really lucky, you can get a pair with just a little bit of crusted blood on it.
Oh, nice.
Nice, yeah. We'll be back after this. I know, and it was the elder wand after all of that time. I was really surprised because I was fairly certain that at the end of the last film, Harry snapped it in half and threw it off a bridge. But apparently that's not what happens in the books.
Oh, Harry doesn't snap it in twain?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Interesting. We are back again, by the way.
Oh, well, it's a good job I got to the end of the story then, isn't it? Welcome back to Video Games and Chill. We are slowly making our way to our third segment, where we are going to be discussing, and I believe it's written down below,
down there
something
somewhere.
to do with lighting engines and trains.
Yep. Lighting engines and trains.
Lighting engines and trains. Sounds like a Stephen Wilson song.
No,
we are going to
Metro.
be discussing shady development practices and why anti-consumer developers and publishers, and please just stop doing this so that we can stop talking about it, stop treating people like they're idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact that I am probably going to be taking the devil's advocate route during this discussion.
Well,
because I have things to say.
I'm gonna sort of lead off because my first thought on this was that companies don't owe us anything as consumers, and it's up to the consumers to decide what they purchase or what we purchase and what we support.
Yes. Okay. I well done. That is a good opening statement. I will then call bullshit on that, because when you announce DLC to a title, have that title on sale for the whole weekend, and then 7 days later announce a brand new Game of the Year edition with forwards compatibility on new platforms, but you can only get the forwards compatibility and enhanced edition if you buy the just announced product, that's what I have a problem with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is not a case of the developer. The developer had an idea, and then all of a
We're
sudden,
we're talking about Control, by the way.
yes, we're talking about Control and Remedy Entertainment in a rather bizarre move. Uh,
Put us in a rather bizarre
but
mood.
put me in a rather bizarre mood because I watched the reveal trailer thinking it was just the Steam announcement
Mm-hmm.
and that they were doing essentially a Game of the Year edition for Steam, and then all of this bullshit came out where it's going to be an enhanced version for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X electric chair edition. Uh, but you can only get that if you buy the Ultimate Edition, and that's just not something that is a positive move, especially when it's this
It's
would have been planned. The Ultimate Edition would have been planned before they had the sale on Control on all of the platforms the day they announced the DLC for all of the platforms. There is no way that in a week these guys all of a sudden decided they were going to do an Ultimate Edition and that they were going to put the Ultimate Edition in enhanced mode on the future platforms.
it's a weird thing, right? Because if there was an enhanced port and that was the end of it and it was full price and there was no smart delivery, I feel like there'd have been a bit of backlash. But there would have been nothing close to this. I don't think, anyway.
So I have a theory, and this is why I said I was going to sort of play devil's advocate a bit. You can see that I'm, a little bit pissed off that this isn't a situation at all. But I
Mm-hmm.
have a theory, and I think it's the fact that they were never going to do an enhanced edition for the new consoles, and they were just going to have, they were going to release the DLC, and it was going to be fine. And I think what's happened is, and I think this is probably the reason for the delay, is that they were waiting for a response. Is that they let Sony and Microsoft know that they were going to be releasing an Ultimate Edition on their stores, because obviously they have to go through the vetting process
Mm-hmm.
and submit it for approval and all of that rubbish that you have to do to get on the stores these days. And one or both of them came back to them, specifically Sony, I think this will have been, came back to them and said, "Hey, you remember a few months ago when we said that any title releasing on this platform has to be forwards compatible with PlayStation 5? Well, this needs to be
This needs to
forwards
be forwards
compatible."
compatible, yeah.
And they've turned around and gone, "Well, it's not a new title." But it is, because X, Y, and Z. And
It's
then
a
they've,
it's a new SKU. It's a new.
yeah, it's a new title. It is not. You cannot buy the DLC for the old Control edition and use it on this version, so on and so forth. I think that's probably what's happened, where they've gone, okay, we want to release an enhanced edition, an Ultimate Edition, a Game of the Year edition, and Sony have gone, well, it needs to be forwards compatible with the PlayStation 5 then.
What do you think? What's the difference between the Digital Deluxe Edition and the Ultimate Edition? The Digital Deluxe Edition, I think, I'm just on Reddit now, included the Season Pass and was available on release. The Ultimate Edition includes the game and the DLC.
Yep.
So,
That is the problem. You get the exact same content, but with the Ultimate Edition, you get this enhanced version when the Series X and the PlayStation 5 come out.
see, that's the thing that's making me sort of be a bit cynical about your cynicism, I guess. When you say it's Sony saying, "Look, it needs to
I don't.
run on PS5."
I have no confirmation of that. I have no reason
Oh,
to
oh
think
no,
that. It's just a
speculation.
theory based on the way things have happened.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And my sort of dispute to that would be, why would they think about putting another SKU out that's exactly the same as their original?
Because it was Epic Game Store exclusive, so they wanted to release the Ultimate Edition on Steam because you may as well include all the DLC when it releases on Steam. So if you're compiling an Ultimate Edition anyway, then you may as well release a Game of the Year edition on the current platforms which it's available, which would have been
Even though the Ultimate Edition is the same as the Digital Deluxe Edition on PS4, that's
yeah,
that's the sticking point for me, and that's what makes me feel
price
like
difference.
that's what makes me feel like there's something else, something a bit more
So
sinister
so
at
there
play
is
here.
there is going to be you want to keep the original versions available because people might not want the DLC and people might want to buy the DLC on top of their original content. But it's like any game
But
releasing a Game of the Year edition.
there's already the Digital Deluxe Edition, which is the same thing.
Okay, which is the same as Borderlands 1 and 2, both released a digital deluxe edition with a series pass. And Batman, whichever
Arkham
one it was,
City, Arkham
released
Knight.
whatever. All of the Batman games released a season that released with DLC and a season's pass, then had a Game of the Year edition.
Mm-hmm.
For titles that are that good and have sold that well and were that well received, a Game of the Year edition or Ultimate edition or whatever the hell they want to talk about is a good way of getting additional revenue and additional eyes on a product.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, a new again, a new SKU, basically,
Yeah.
a new item on the
And you've got to
shelf.
remember that it's not only going to be a digital release, this is also going to be a physical media release.
Mm-hmm.
And the digital deluxe edition was not available as a physical release. There probably was a deluxe edition that possibly came with the season pass, maybe. But it's just coming out and saying, well, why didn't that? Why it's the same content as the digital deluxe edition? Why don't they just sell the digital deluxe edition? It comes from an advertising standpoint.
Yeah, I suppose it does. I suppose it does. Now the question is, um, now that they've had this blowback from it, do they double back and do they say no? Everyone who's got the digital deluxe version gets the game for free on PS5 on Series X.
I think that if they were going to do that, they'd have done that by now. But also, I don't see any downside from them doing that. It all depends on where the decision came from,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why my my theory sort of percolated in my mind is because you know why would they do an enhanced edition? Why bother? They got a lot of sales. They've got DLC coming out. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
It ran like dog shit when it was first released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
I think that's been fixed though, right?
It has, yeah. But
And for all intents and purposes, Control is meant to be a really good game, right?
well, let's put it this way: I've watched a playthrough of it, including the first DLC and probably the second DLC,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on my Steam wish list for when it releases on PC on Steam because you know, and it's included in the Xbox Game Pass, and I'm still going to be picking it up on Steam because it's
Fair
it's a
play.
world and an environment and a game that just looks like it's fun to play.
Yeah.
It's there are some really shady things going on in gaming at the moment, and this is just one of them. This is just the current problem.
Mm-hmm.
And fair enough, you can throw all the devil's advocates at it that you want, but the fact of the matter is, this is not something that should be happening. This is not
Yes,
something
it's
that should have
still an
happened.
issue.
Somebody somewhere should have turned around. Somebody somewhere in the thought process of this company should have turned around and gone, do we not feel like this is a little bit predatory? Do we not
Well,
feel like we're fleecing money out of the customers?
well, that was another thought I had. Who is it? So let's focus on the whole smart delivery thing. Because before we had very, very clearly defined generations where a PS2 game couldn't run on a PS1 because it was different architecture. PS3 was wildly different. PS4 and Xbox One were very much their architecture was very much a lot closer to a PC, to a
Yes.
gaming PC.
Yeah, and the further down the rabbit hole we get, the closer to PC tech they are going to get.
Yeah, PS5 and Xbox Series X, I think being the prime examples of that, right?
Yeah.
And so we're in this foggy place where, like, if you upgrade your PC, your Steam account still has all your games on it. So why shouldn't your PSN account still have all your games on it? Why can't I run all these things? And it's getting to the point where it's only going to be a problem for a few months. This smart delivery business. Once the new console cycle really kicks in, no one's going to think about it. In a year's time, this won't be a conversation that we're having.
But it's a
it is
similar
important
conversation
right
to the
now.
one which is it's a similar conversation to the one which is happening on the Switch or any Nintendo console, really, in the fact that I have bought X, Y, and Z off of the Virtual Console. Why should I buy it again?
I have bought Super Mario 64 twice already. Why should I buy it a third time?
Yeah. Now, back when everything was physical and physical media, yeah, fair enough. I bought Kingdom Hearts 4 times. I've bought Final Fantasy X more times than I care to admit. I own Resident Evil 4 on pretty much every platform that I own, other than my Switch. You know, back when things were physical, yeah, buying things multiple times is, yeah. I I don't
So
think
when
this is
we
I don't think this is a problem with the fact that things are going digital and things are supposed to be forwards and backwards and sideways and upside down compatible. I think this is more to do with a company that has decided that, hey, we could potentially get a little bit more money here.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
timing of it is too close.
Mm-hmm.
It is too predatorial. It is too. If it had
So
been 6 months, down the line, and they go, cool, Game of the Year edition, Ultimate edition, forwards compatible, all this jazz, all these bells and whistles, great. The fact that it was a week between the announcement of the DLC and the announcement of the Ultimate edition with enhanced edition on the new gen consoles. No.
Yeah.
I think this is also very indicative that of the point that I made earlier, of the fact that I think I think this generation was too short.
Maybe. I have been surprised by how quickly it seems to have come about, but then again, they were released 6 years ago, weren't they?
Yeah, and the reason why you're surprised is because the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, they had an 8-year life cycle.
Yeah, but that was
That was an exception.
That was an exception. Yeah, you think it should have just got longer and longer?
Yeah, I think it should have done. I think that there are still games coming out now that are pushing boundaries, but the the developers want to push 4K. Specifically, Sony wants to push 4 and 8K so that they can sell TVs and 4 and 8K Blu-ray.
Let's just backpedal a little bit to this forwards compatibility thing, this whole smart delivery thing. How much are Sony and Microsoft to blame here? Should they be the gatekeepers? Should they say, this is our platform, and if you are on our platform, you have to do this? Not a smart delivery thing where Microsoft are saying, we're
It's
encouraging people
optional.
to do this, but you can do what you want. How
But a
much
Sony
power?
thing of saying if you release a game on the PlayStation 4 after this date,
It
it
has to be.
has to run on the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, there doesn't have to be an
Um,
enhanced edition, but it has to run on it.
yeah,
How much power do they hold there?
I honestly don't know. I think that there are the whole it leads further into this. What the hell are the new consoles for?
Mm-hmm.
Because everything just seems to be blending into each other.
The difficult thing
Uh,
is that I know what a PS5 is for. I don't know what an Xbox Series X is for. There's always going to be the cross generational titles that come out on the current slash previous and next generation. Like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 did it, I think.
yeah.
Um, back in the PS1 to PS2 transition, like it's nothing new there, and there's always going to be exclusives, like the Jack and Daxter wasn't on PS1
Mhm.
because it showed off the power of the PS2 and everything like that. But now that we are at this point where I don't, where there are
I
enhanced editions, when there are this, that, and the other, but when consumer friendliness and when digital editions are so prevalent, how much of it is on Sony and Microsoft to say, look, if you have a PS5 version and they own the PS4 version, it needs to be carried across.
I think it is very much on them, especially seeing as the last generation. It was very much a case of backwards. Oh yeah, we are backwards compatible, and that was a very much a big sticking point for both consoles. Moving forwards, backwards compatibility is sort of you're right. It's like having a Steam account. You upgrade your Steam, you upgrade your PC, you've still got all your Steam games.
Or,
I would not
or
at all be surprised if
even
this
more
was the last
pertinently,
phone.
you buy a new phone,
Everything carries
everything
across.
carries across
Yeah. So,
instantly.
so, so I would not be at all surprised if this is the last time we see something talked of as the next generation of games consoles. I would not at all be surprised if this is the last time we talk about the next generation of games consoles. I would not at all be surprised if they move to more iterative updates where, much like phones and
I mean, the PS4 Pro is the first time we've seen anything like that, right? And the Xbox One X. I know the Xbox 360 had the Elite, but that was
yeah, but the Elite was just was just more storage
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
and black.
Yeah, and same with the PS3. It was just the PS3 Slim and the PS3 whatever the other one was,
Slimmer.
Slimmer. Uh, yeah, this is the first time that we've had uh mid-generation upgrades. So you think that's just going to be the thing now,
I think
just
that'll be the norm.
incrementally?
I think the Xbox Series X is gonna persist, and then it's gonna be like the Xbox Series X
Have
and
you
the PlayStation 5.2 or something.
have you seen the Xbox Series X cases for the games?
I have not. No,
Let me see if I can just send you it in Discord.
I've seen the box. I've seen the box art for the PlayStation 5 games, and it
Uh,
looks kind of all right.
I'm sure I saw one. I'm sure I saw a Halo one that was much more ridiculous than this. But if you look at that in Discord, and I will write down the time to put this up on screen. But it says it just looks so ugly to me because it has Xbox right at the top there.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't realise that would happen. I just covered it. I just covered us up. Sorry. So it has Xbox right at the top, and then it has Xbox Series X at the top left. Then it has this huge ugly badge saying "optimized for Series Xbox Series X." It's like
I mean, it has to be clear.
it has to be clear. That's right. But then when the Xbox Series X 2 and 3 and 4 come out, is this what they're going to do? Are they going to say Xbox Series X and
So,
Xbox Series X 2?
so the question I'm going to proffer is: do you really think the next generation or the next iteration of the Xbox is going to have physical media?
I mean, who knows at this point? I think so. I think for the time being, physical media is a must for a games console, at least the option. I think I think they take baby steps away from it, like the PS5 digital only edition, like what the Xbox Series S is kind of rumored to be. Because it was going by the code name Xbox Lockhart, and the rumors surrounding that were ridiculous. Some of them were like, is it essentially just a Chromecast?
Yeah, but the problem is when you say Lockhart, all I can think of is a pathetic blonde person that looks vaguely like David Bowie that claims to be the best thing ever, but is actually just really good at memory modification spells.
What is that a reference to?
Harry Potter again.
Oh, it is. It is the second
Gilderoy
one.
Lockhart. Yeah. Although it wasn't David Bowie, it was what's his face, Sir Kenneth Branagh. But I really think it should have been David Bowie because when I was reading the books, it was always David Bowie for me. But not quite David Bowie, like somebody pretending to be a really good David Bowie. But anyway, I don't know. I do get the feeling the box art isn't going to be a problem moving forwards. Uh,
No, you can see what I mean though, can't you? It's just a bit ugly. It's just a bit, and
yeah,
if physical media does carry on, then how do we tell people that they have the wrong Xbox?
that I can't answer because Nintendo had the same problem with the new 3DS when they released it, where
Yeah,
there were a few titles that would have only run on the new 3DS, and it was very difficult to know which ones those were.
but they were the exception. They were very much the exception.
Yes,
In 5 or 10 years, um, if they are going for this iterative approach, then things will not run on the Xbox Series X V1.
yeah,
And
possibly.
and how do you make it clear? What if someone's thrown away the box? How do you make it clear that you've got a V1 or a V2 or a V3 for someone who's just bought the kids it for Christmas? How do they go into a shop? How do they know what games are gonna run?
Again, I think you're thinking far too far down the line, and I get the feeling that by that point we are just going to be digital only. It makes sense. It makes sense for the developers. It makes sense for producers. Fair enough. There's going to be an awful lot of people that are not very happy about the fact that their jobs are going because they don't have pre-owned game shops
Mm-hmm.
anymore. GameStop will go bust, and Game Over Here will go bust again. But
HMV will lose another one of its legs.
does HMV exist still?
I think so.
But yeah, it's a case of I get the feeling that it's just going to be a digital marketplace, and that's it. And if your machine can't run it, then the internet will tell you, or
Yeah.
it'll run it at substandard.
I feel like we've gone off topic here from Shady Devs, haven't we?
I think we have, yeah. I don't think we went into much of the shady dev stuff,
No.
but I mean, is there more to say about shady development practices?
Stop it.
Don't be a dick.
Stop exploiting gamers, you dicks.
Physical media is forever. Buy Laserdisc.
I think I think, yeah, the question for me is regarding the next gen upgrades and regarding just shady dev practices in general. Who is who is the gatekeeper for that sort of thing?
The customer. If a developer does something stupid, something predatory, if they are obviously just trying to fleece you for as much money as they can, don't buy their product. Stop pre-ordering video games. Stop giving companies money every year for the same fucking game, year in, year out.
I mean, that's why I
Stop
didn't buy
buying
Pokemon.
microtransactions.
That's why I didn't buy
Stop.
Pokemon this year or
Yeah,
last year,
whenever it was, ever.
ever.
If a game developer develops a shit game, don't buy the next one because they say it's going to be better. Let the people whose job it is to tell you whether or not a game is good tell you whether or not a game is good. But also, those people whose job it is to tell you that a game is good, stop taking money to tell people that a game is good.
You know
Fucking
what?
stop being dicks.
I don't think much of that goes on.
Yeah, not much of that goes on at all.
I really don't. I really don't.
Yeah. Be open and declare when you have received things for free. Fucking just be better.
Just be better. I think that's a good place to leave this shady devs business.
Possibly. What with me just being completely and utterly just
Yeah,
completely. I'm just lethargic with the entire industry right now.
I was gonna say you've definitely sunk during this podcast.
It's because I'm sitting back now rather than sitting forward. Because I'm at the point where it's just sort of like, oh, I can't be bothered to deal with this bullshit yet again. Stop treating customers like ATMs. They are more than just money.
That's how you get more custom in the future.
Stop advertising your game with pre-rendered demos that don't stand up.
Stop advertising your DLC with a 2-minute trailer that plays halfway through the game. And that's Microsoft, man. That's not some shady little dev trying to squeeze.
That's Microsoft, man. That's old school Microsoft. Right, I think that's us done for this week.
Yeah, me too.
He says, yawning.
Yeah, I'm tired now.
Yep. Sam, what have you got coming up?
I'm gonna finally finish the Curious Case of Microsoft's Marketing. That has been an article that has been life has just gotten far too in the way, but I've got lots of scribbles on this piece of paper, on these 3 pieces of A4 paper. So I might do that later today and try and get it published. Might even make a video out of it, Dan.
You steady on there.
And you'll find that at samuelcarmody.co.uk or head over to twitch.tv/SamuelCarmody to see me playing things like Paper Mario, the Origami King.
Pretty much exclusively at the moment.
Pretty much exclusively at the moment. I've realised, if I'm going to try and get a review done on time, I'm going to pick short games. Short little indie games. Because this is not my job. I wish it was, but
yeah.
How about you?
I might do something.
Nice.
That's all I can promise. I have a webcam now on my gaming machine, so I might stream at some point potentially.
Yeah,
If
start
I do,
streaming. I'll jump in.
if I do, it will probably be something ridiculous or something. I don't know. There was a part of me that was just sort of like, do I just sit and stream Football Manager?
Yeah, why not?
And then I was like, nobody's going to watch that. But apparently nobody watches us, so that obviously isn't a stopping point for me. Uh, yeah, I might start streaming in the next week or so. If I don't, then don't be disappointed.
Nah,
Uh,
do it. I'll jump in.
yeah, yeah, I might just jump in on the bandwagon and stream with you, and we'll stream something together. Or I might just ignore you for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, fair play. I would if
Yeah,
I were you.
yeah, probably. It's probably wise. Right, that's us done. Thank you for watching Video Games and Chill, and we will catch you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.